Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, where horsepower never dies. I'm RetroVault 4, your guide to the golden age of gas-guzzling glory. Today we're diving into the 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT, a muscle car so mean it makes modern rides today look like electric toasters on wheels, because modern cars forgot what muscle means. Here's a fun little twist in the story of the 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT, something that feels a bit like finding a tuxedo on a wrestler. Enter the Action Special Equipment Package, a curious option that only 953 buyers decided to embrace. Now, if you're picturing hardcore muscle car enthusiasts trading their bucket seats for a fancy bench, you're not wrong, but that's exactly what happened. For a modest $15.60 credit, these lucky or peculiar buyers got deluxe wheel covers, crisp white sidewall tires, a vinyl roof, and yes, a bench seat replacing the standard sporty buckets. It's like swapping your championship boxing gloves for a pair of dress gloves. Stylish, but a little impractical for throwing down on the asphalt. This package made the Cyclone GT feel part luxury cruiser, part muscle car, almost as if Mercury couldn't decide whether it wanted to roar or purr. While the standard Cyclone GT screamed aggression and speed, the Action Special cars had a gentle side, more about cruising Main Street in style than leaving tire marks on the drag strip. It's a quirky reminder that even in the era of raw muscle, some drivers wanted their cake and ate it too, just with a vinyl-covered bench between them and the road. The 1970s Mercury Cyclone GT was like that guy at the gym who flexed in the mirror more than he lifted weights. Built for looks, but still packing plenty of muscle under the hood. This car was a cocktail style and speed, with Mercury clearly pouring a little extra style into the glass. The body screamed attitude from every angle with a non-functional hood scoop that looked ready to inhale asphalt, even if it mostly just for show. Up front, the Cyclone GT wore one of the boldest grills of the era, a chrome outline square divided neatly into four sections like a muscle car trying to show off its symmetry. Right in the center sat a proud chrome circle, a bullseye of intimidation that let you know this wasn't your grandma's grocery getter. Flanking that were rectangular running lights, sharp and purposeful, giving the Cyclone a face that said, "Move or be moved." Add in those concealed headlights and the full-length lower body side molding, and you had a design that blended elegance and aggression like a tuxedo with brass knuckles. The Cyclone GT wasn't just a car. It was a ruling statement that good looks and bad intentions could absolutely coexist. Under the hood, the Mercury Cyclone GT in 1970 didn't just purr. It growled, snarled, and occasionally flexed its pistons for fun. You had a smorgasbord of V8 to choose from, each one more eager than the last to turn premium fuel into thunder. Starting things off was the 351 cubic inch 5.8-liter Cleveland V8, pushing 250 horses at 5,400 RPM. With a 9.5 to 1 compression ratio, cast iron block, and an Autolite 2100 two-barrel carburetor, it was the warm-up stretch of the Cyclone lineup, smooth, reliable, and ready to make some noise. Step up to the hotter 351 4-barrel variant, and things got spicy. Now we were looking at 300 horsepower and 380 foot-pounds of torque, a combination that could turn rubber into vapor faster than a magician's disappearing act. With an 11 to 1 compression ratio and an Autolite 4300A 4-barrel carb, this engine was basically caffeine for your right foot. But the real legends were the 429s. The Cobra Jet's 360 horses and 700 CFM Rochester carb made it a street bruiser. And Super Cobra Jet, that was Mercury's atomic option. 370 horsepower, 11.3 to 1 compression, and a Holley 780 4-barrel ready to inhale small planets. This wasn't just power, it was mechanical fury, finely tuned and chrome wrapped. When it came to transferring all that muscle to the pavement, the Mercury Cyclone GT gave you several ways to dance with danger. Whether you preferred to roll your own gears or let the car do the heavy lifting, Mercury had you covered. The 3-speed top-loader manual was a base setup. Tough, reliable, and built like a cast iron handshake. It wasn't fancy, but it got the job done. Kind of like that one friend who never skips leg day. If you wanted to really stir the pot, though, the 4-speed top loader was your ticket. Smooth yet brutal, this gearbox was as precise as a sniper and as satisfying as nailing the perfect downshift. Paired with a big block under the hood, it made you feel like you were holding lightning by the handle. For those who preferred cruising over clutching, Mercury offered two automatics. The FMX 3-speed automatic, typically paired with the 351s, was more of a sit back and enjoy the ride kind of deal. Meanwhile, the heavy-duty C6 3-speed automatic, reserved mostly for the mighty 429s, was the transmission equivalent of a linebacker, strong, unbreakable, and always ready for impact. No matter your pick, the Cyclone GT made sure every gear change came with a side of adrenaline. Built on the trusty Ford Torino platform, the 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT had a backbone that was equal parts brawn and balance. Think of it as a heavyweight boxer with the agility of a dancer, able to throw a punch yet still lie on its feet when the road started to twist. Up front, it sported an independent suspension setup with coil springs mounted on A-arms, a tried-and-true Ford formula that kept things smooth even when the pavement wasn't playing nice. It was the automotive equivalent of good posture, steady, confident, and ready for action. Out back, the Cyclone didn't mess around either. A live axle paired with heavy-duty leaf springs gave it that classic muscle car stance. Stiff, planted, and just a bit rebellious. You could feel every bounce of torque trying to twist the rear end loose, but that was part of the fun. This was a car that wanted to be tamed. And for drivers who demanded more corner carving capability, Mercury offered the competition handling package. With upgraded shocks, springs, and a front anti-roll bar, it turned the Cyclone GT from a straight-line bruiser into something that could actually hustle through curves. In short, this wasn't just muscle. It was muscle that learned how to dance. Step inside the Cyclone GT and you'd find yourself in a cockpit that felt more mission control than family cruiser. Mercury might have been aiming for muscle on the outside, but inside, they weren't shy about giving drivers a taste of luxury, 1970s style. The basic package came dressed to impress with high-back weave vinyl bucket seats that hugged you tighter than a long-lost friend. They weren't just for comfort. They made you feel like you were strapping into something that meant business. Between those seats sat a full-length console, sleek, purposeful, and perfect for resting your arm while you contemplated the sheer absurdity of all that horsepower under your right foot. Up front, the 3-spoke sports-style steering wheel gave you the illusion of being a NASCAR driver, even if you were just cruising to the grocery store. Every turn of that wheel reminded you that this car wasn't just about convenience, it was about command. Special door panel trim and added a touch of flair, giving the interior a distinctly upscale feel. No fancy touchscreens or Bluetooth nonsense here, just chrome, vinyl, and the deep rumble of a V8 for entertainment. The Cyclone GT's cabin didn't whisper refinement, it shouted, "Let's drive!" Out back, the 1970 Cyclone GT packed Ford's legendary 9-inch rear end, a setup so tough it's still worshipped by gearheads today. You could option it with a traction-lock differential for smooth limited slip action, or go full gladiator with a Detroit locker from the drag pack or super drag pack. Gear ratios range from highway-friendly 3-to-1, 3.25-to-1, and 3.5-to-1 to wild 3.91-to-1 and 4.3-to-1 screamers for the Super Cobra Jet. It was like picking your own level of chaos, mild, medium, or hold onto your own teeth. Either way, this rear end meant business, ensuring that Cyclone's fury hit the pavement properly. The 1970 Cyclone GT had the kind of dimensions that made parking attendants sigh and muscle car fans grin ear to ear. Measuring 196.1 inches in length, this wasn't a compact. It was a chrome-plated missile built for the open road. At 74.2 inches wide, it took up lane space like it owned the asphalt, and honestly, it kind of did. Standing just 51.3 inches tall, the Cyclone had that low, predatory stance that made it look like it was ready to pounce on anything foolish enough to challenge it at a stoplight. With a 111.1-inch wheelbase, it struck a balance between agility and straight-line stability, a sweet spot that let it glide confidently down highways while still taking curves with some swagger. And at a curb weight of 3,636 pounds, it wasn't exactly light on its feet, but that heft gave it a planted, confident feel that screamed Detroit steel. Simply put, the Cyclone GT was the kind of car that filled up your driveway and your ego at the same time. Its proportions weren't just about size, they were about presence. When this thing rolled up, it didn't need to shout. The road itself knew to step aside. The 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT was like a heavyweight champ in a tailored suit, brutally strong yet stylish enough to steal the show. One of its biggest strengths was the blend of looks and muscle. The aggressive grille, sleek fastback profile, and booming V8 lineup gave it the kind of curb appeal that made people stop mid-sentence. It had presence, raw, unfiltered, and proudly unapologetic. Under the skin, the Ford Torino-based chassis and beefy drivetrain meant durability was never in question. Add in the available competition handling package, and the Cyclone could actually carve corners instead of just charging through them. But of course, no muscle car is without its kryptonite. The Cyclone GT's non-functional hood scoop was all bark and no bite, a poser's touch on an otherwise ferocious machine. Fuel economy was so bad it makes oil executives smile in their sleep. And while it could run with the best of them, the sheer size and weight made tight maneuvers feel like steering a battleship through a parking lot. Still, its flaws were part of its charm. The Cyclone GT wasn't about perfection, it was about personality. It was loud, proud, and a little wild. And that's exactly why enthusiasts still love it today. The 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT wasn't just another muscle car. It was a rolling declaration of power, presence, and pure attitude. It looked like it could eat lesser cars for breakfast, and most of the time, it did. With its thundering V8, sculpted lines, and that unmistakable "don't mess with me" stance, the Cyclone GT was Mercury's way of reminding everyone that the brand could play just as hard as Ford, Chevy, or Mopar. It was part beauty queen, part barroom brawler, a rare balance of elegance and intimidation. Sure, it had its quirks. The hood scoop was more show than go, the gas gauge dropped faster than your paycheck on payday, and parking one took the patience of a saint. But when that engine roared to life, none of that mattered. The Cyclone GT was about emotion, connection, and the kind of mechanical symphony you don't hear anymore. So what do you think? Does the Cyclone GT deserve more love among the muscle car legends, or did it always play a second fiddle to the big three? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, keep it loud, keep it classic.